So it's nice to work happen. Yeah, we're like that, like going to well, our moms were working, which is blah 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 blah. You can do that part. And you can find out how. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, and you have to introduce yourselves first so we know who you are.
Should we just say our names? Just like our names or
Your names.
okay. Yeah. I'm Ella Carlson. I'm Marya Makeup, and we both are 16 and we live in Monterey. And we've lived here all of our lives, so yeah. So our moms were both working at Gold Farm before we were born, and they met there and became best friends. And they both were pregnant with her older sister and my older brother at the same time. And when they were born, they hung out a lot, and they became really good friends. And then they both got pregnant with us at the exact same time. And so we hung out before we were born. Yeah, a lot. We spent a lot of time together. And when we were born, we hung out a lot too. Yeah, we were always just pretty much friends from the beginning, but it wasn't until we were like maybe, I don't know, 8, I'd say, when we became best friends. And yeah, we don't really remember why. We just sort of happened. Yeah, I think part of it was Monterey, because there aren't that many other people our age though. And so we always would see each other everywhere. At the lake especially, and then just around town. And so I think it was just like bound to happen that we would become best friends. So yeah. Where to start? Yeah. We went to the Monterey kindergarten, which is it too? They like to say it's a one-room schoolhouse, but there's an upstairs, which you're actually not supposed to go into. Well, technically, yeah, we did when we were kids, but technically it's one-room schoolhouse, and that was just amazing. We loved our teacher, Mrs. Anderson. Yeah, it was such a special experience. I think when the first year I went there were 13 kids, and then the next year there were like 7. Yeah, so it was a pretty drastic change. Early K. Yeah. You could go to kindergarten for 2 years if your birthday was past the cutoff date. Yeah. So we went together 1 year, and then my birthday was like slightly before the cutoff date, and hers was like 9 days afterwards. So she stayed there for another year. Yeah. So I was actually there for 3 years, which was pretty interesting because they had first grade. They had first grade, so I went there for pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade, and that was just everything I learned there was just. I still remember so many good memories, especially with the poetry, because every single day Mrs. Anderson would have us recite our poetry. And do you remember that? I especially remember the Owl and the Pussycat. The Owl and the Pussycat was everyone learned that. Well, there were many poems that everyone learned, but that one was just like the classic poem. I think we performed that at like the fire. Yeah, so every year they would have a performance of the poems that we had learned, and I think one year it was at the church, and maybe 1 year it was at the fire department in the pavilion. Yeah. And we would like dress up in our costumes, and we had like backdrops. And I remember going to see my brother in that 5 years. And yeah. Every year we would go to that, and I think that was so great. And I always was so proud. I remember I got to be, I think I was the Pussycat one time, and I was just so excited. Mm-hmm. And then I got to be Orphan Annie 1 year. And that was, there were just so many classic poems that we got to. I remember I was a mouse, and I had this awesome like felt mouse head. Yes, mask that I would put on. That was so cool. They had all this like handmade masks. Yeah, that was great. But then also, I think one other really great tradition that we had in Monterey kindergarten was that we would actually get our lunches from the general store. I was just about to say that. That was the best. The best we always had like little things, like you might get assigned like the calendar person, you know, for the day, so you would get to change the date on the calendar, or, you know, like different little jobs for the day. But one of the best ones that everyone loved was getting to go down with the teacher's aide to the general store to pick up our lunch and our snack. And that was so much fun. Like, you had the best day if you got to go pick it up. And the lunches were so good.
Every Friday we had pizza?
Every Friday we had pizza and Pizzy cups. And that was also a tradition. We would get to, sometimes if we were good, we'd get to watch a movie and eat our ice cream. And that was just, I don't know, something about that was just so great. I always have memories of that.
To this day, our favorite thing
is pizza and Pizzy cups. And ever since
we
that,
like to get pizza from like the grocery store.
yeah, anyway.
Dip it in the
Pizzy cups. That's something that we started when we were little kids, and we will still do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's just so great. But the Monterey kindergarten definitely, like, it was just a place where it was just so magical. Even outside, I remember there was Pride Rock, which my sister actually named because my sister Gabi, she was really into The Lion King when she was in kindergarten, and she would sing songs all day, like all of recess, whenever she could, about The Lion King. And so she did that so often that they ended up calling this big rock out there Pride Rock. And I remember in kindergarten we'd like run around and we pretended that we were like all different characters, and like we had our own like houses, and then it was just, we did so many funny things.
That's fun.
But it was so cool. I think that was just so great. Well, I guess we can talk about our families. You want to go first?
Yeah, I don't know. First.
Okay, well.
Ella, you have to speak up. You have to speak loud.
Okay.
Okay, well, I come from a pretty big family, I guess you could say. I have 4 siblings, and like I said, we all grew up here in Monterey, but we've all been impacted in different ways from the town. Like, one, I will always remember, we live pretty close to the lake. I always remember going like on summer nights down to the lake and going swimming or boating, but that's just like one time of year where we always come together as a family, and we'll even have our extended family, and my cousins come, and we have a lot of cousins as well, and they'll always come. And so I think one of my favorite times of the year in Monterey is definitely the summer, when the entire family comes together and has big parties at the lake, and you just go swimming and fishing, and it's so great.
And I think it's really nice that you always invited me to those things.
Yeah, I always got to come to our parties.
It was like a family party. She would be like, oh, we're having a family birthday party tonight, so why don't you come?
So elegant.
So it was like 10 cousins and me.
Yeah. And I remember going to birthday parties with Ella's family where we would go like hiking, because up behind her house she has some great trails.
We live on a state forest. So my dad started maintaining trails when we moved there, and now there's like this huge network of trails. Every morning he goes out there and he tends to the trails, and he like trims all the like mountain laurel growing over them and stuff. And so we'd always have like little hikes up the mountain that we live on, Hunger Mountain, as kids, and that was really fun. And we still go up there. The other day we went up there. We thought we should get some exercise. And so we were like, let's run up the mountain. And then we just ended up walking. And at the top, we were listening to music. And Ella came on my phone.
It was very
we just had a disco dance party on top of the mountain.
So it's great, yeah. So many funny experiences here. But also skiing in the winter. Cross-country skiing is a big part of our year.
My dad's really into that. That's one of the main reasons that he has trails. So.
Who was your dad?
Bob
Carlson.
Yeah.
Did he grow up here?
He did not grow up here. He grew up in Central Mass, near Worcester, but he moved to Gould Farm and was working as a nurse there, and that's how he and my mom met, because she was volunteer there as well, she worked in several different areas there, the residential and in the kitchen and stuff. And so they met, and they had me and my brother. And when I was 1.5, they moved off the farm to where we live now, where we lived for 14.5 years of my life.
Which is where?
Which is on Hoopi Road, on Hunger Mountain, which is where we are now. It's about 3 minutes away from where Marya lives, on the main road. And sometimes in the winter, when the lake freezes over and it snows over the lake, me and my dad would walk down to the lake from down the mountain to from our house and put on our cross-country skis and ski across the lake to her house to visit her.
Yeah, we would do that. We'd have little like skiing parties and ski all around. And yeah, that's definitely something I remember too. In the winter, our family would go out when it was dark and you would just see the stars. And this was just amazing. We'd go skiing over the lake when there were like, you know, when there was snow on the lake, we'd go skiing over there, and it was just amazing. Just, you know, if you fell, that was the greatest thing, because you would just look up and see all the constellations, and I think that's just such a great memory that I have of being a kid. But yeah, one of my parents grew up in Monterey. My dad, Mark Maycook, who is the director of the library here, and he does a lot around the town, but his grandparents had a house here. And that's actually, their old house is actually closer to where we live now, where we have a house. They had property there, and when my parents decided to build their own house, they built it pretty close by to their grandparents' house. But my grandparents' house, where my dad grew up, is actually, I love their house. It was built in the 1750s by the Brewers, and it was a tavern, but whenever we would go there, we just had, you know, I just have so many great memories of going there for Thanksgiving or just different family celebrations. And you just walk around and you feel like you're back in the 1700s with, you know, the paint that looks like it's been there forever, and just like nothing was really changed. And I think that house just really partly inspired me to start interning at the Biddle House. And
that's something we both did.
Yeah.
And our older siblings did too. Your older sister did, right?
Yes.
And both of your older brothers.
Yeah.
My older brother did as well. And then we started 2 years ago, or something ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you're good at talking about that.
Well, the Biddle House, let's see.
It's the Biddle House Museum, and it was built circa 1760.
Yes. Recently, the date has been changing, so we're actually not sure, but we're going to say circa 1760 for now.
That's pretty accurate. And it would, we want to give a little history of the town, of the house, just so that we do.
Well, the house was built for the first reverend of Township Number 1, which was actually Tyringham and Monterey. When Township Number 1 was first built, it was known as Tyringham. And then later on, it broke into Monterey and Tyringham because there ended up being like two separate parts of Tyringham. There was really the commerce, and then the commerce and, you know, trade kind of area, which was down here and what is now Monterey. And then there was the civic and religious center, which was really up closer to Tyringham. And so when down here they started, you know, populating down here because of the river, there was a larger population, you could say, where Monterey is now, and the people didn't want to walk all the way up to the church, which was farther up the hill, closer towards where Tyringham is now. So they decided to split up the town so that they could have their own church in what is now Monterey. So it's a little funny story that I think a lot of visitors find interesting to the Biddle House.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what's funny at the Biddle House?
What's funny?
Like some of the little, you know, secrets.
When my brother and her older sister were there, they made a video of the, what was it called?
I don't know what it's called, but you can still find it on YouTube. And it was I think it was called the Secrets of the Middle House. Untold Secrets. And it had 5 or 10?
5, I think.
Maybe 5 secrets, and it was the funniest thing because they dressed up in, traditional colonial garb, and they were like out there, they would, different things. But there were a couple really cool secrets.
Yeah, a lot of them were kind of disproven.
We've over the years kind of, narrowed them down and realized that some of them definitely were not possible. But I think one of the coolest ones that I find really interesting is actually there's like a secret cupboard inside a closet, which is already big for the day because back then closets or any room with a door was actually taxed. So for having 3 closets, the Bidwells must have been, pretty rich. And we actually believe that they were rich because Adonijah's father, we believe, was a merchant in Connecticut, possibly a China merchant even. So we believe that's how he inherited the wealth. But for having a closet, inside of that closet, inside of one of them, in the dining room, is actually another little closet. And Ella, would you like to say some of the theories, maybe?
There's a lot of theories as to what it was used for. Personally, I think the most likely, and most people think the most likely, was that it was used for extra storage or drying of herbs.
But at the Biddle House, we like to, just add some extra theories into the mix, which sound pretty, interesting. Like, it could have possibly been used for the Underground Railroad. Now,
we do know that his second son, Barnabas, was an abolitionist.
Yes.
So that is
he was an abolitionist, and he's actually the most well-known because he was a politician. And was he a congressman?
Yes.
I think he was a congressman, yes. And he eventually was actually, someone believed that he had stolen some money because he was in charge, I can't remember, but somehow they thought that he had stolen some money. So that part of the Biddle family actually moved to Canada for some time. But he was an abolitionist, so that's where we think it might come in.
And also, some people think that Native American interactions between them and the settlers might have been less than friendly, so it could be a little hideaway.
Yeah, so in case anything happened. But bringing up the Native American presence, there are actually 2 things. Firstly, there's actually a wigwam that was built
by my neighbor.
Yes, George Evans.
No.
And then originally. The new one was built by George Evans, but the original one, which is my neighbor, and the original one was built by Ella's neighbor.
David. I do know the last name, of course. David McAllister.
Yeah, that's where, yes.
David McAllister. And he was my neighbor, and he went to the Southern Berkshire Friends meeting, which is a Quaker meeting that I grew up going to. Mm-hmm. Enough about the Bidwells.
Anyways, just about
more about families.
Well, the Native American thing I was just going to say is actually, I've heard this story, I'm not sure if it's completely true, but at my grandparents' house, which is pretty close to the center of Monterey. It's maybe a quarter of a mile from the center of town. And I used to hear the story when I was a kid that they were like hooks. I can't remember, like outside the house or something, which we heard they would actually trade with the Native Americans, and like they would put if they like killed a deer or something, they would put that out there and then trade. There was some type of trade going on with them. I don't know, but I always grew up hearing that, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Interesting.
But back to family, we continue.
Well, speaking of the Quaker meeting, I guess that's an interesting subject. When my dad was younger, there was a draft for one of the wars, and he was about to be drafted, and he was trying to get out of it with medical stuff, and they wouldn't let him. But finally, one of his doctors actually decided that he could write a note exempting him because he had had open heart surgery when he was 16, And so he got out of being drafted, and he did not go to war, which was really great for him. But he decided that if there was ever another draft when he had kids, he didn't want them to have to be drafted. So he decided to take us to the Quaker meeting and bring us up Quaker so that we would have a religious exemption if there was ever a draft. And we started going there and, really found community there. And some of us really liked that religion, so we ended up still keeping going for maybe better reasons than just to get out of the draft. So that was a big part of my childhood growing up. And we sort of stopped going because of, being both of us in high school and being more busy. But
yeah, and religion was also really big in my family. We were Roman Catholic, so we go to the Our Lady of the Valley parish, which is the main church is actually in Sheffield, but there is a satellite church, Our Lady of the Hills in Monterey, and that runs during the summer, I think it's July and August. But that's a really cool little chapel there because it's so tiny that when you go there, there's like almost nobody there. So if the whole Maycook family goes, if you take up like half the church, and then you get the whole Vedder family, and that's a family that comes up, they have a summer house here and they come up during the summer, then like the church is filled. But it's just really, that church, there's something different about it. And just being in Monterey makes it feel really like relaxed. And you just go and you see everyone you know, and it's just a totally different feel to it. But yeah, I've just grown up Roman Catholic, and that's definitely shaped my life. But the church here in Monterey is something I will always remember as some of my fondest memories of just being there. And every summer we have to clean it, and then they like put it away. It's just it almost feels like our church here in Monterey, and there's something about that really makes it more real, like their religion to me. Just that we have our own chapel here that's just for us, which is something. Library. Well, okay, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the library. So,
which is where we are now.
But as I said before, my dad is the library director here, and my grandmother was the library director here before him. And it's pretty funny, my dream has always been to be the library director here after my dad, but I grew up being here all the time. And I think when I was about 7, maybe a little older, I started coming here every Saturday morning, and this is a Saturday morning, so I was actually just here helping. But almost every Saturday morning that has been possible, I've tried to come with my dad to the library and just help out with anything. I started with just shelving books, and then I got better, so now I can run, the desk, and I know how to, do a lot of different processing aspects of the library, and just helping out, especially with the book sale. That's the one thing Patrick and I both helped out a lot with. That's a great, the last Saturday of every July is always the library book sale and the fire department steak roast. And that's just like, that day, pretty much years ahead, like every year that happens, so you can never plan anything pretty much on that day. It's just packed. So, I don't know, we get up in the morning and we have to be here pretty early. I don't know, maybe like 8 or so. I'm not sure the exact time. And well, the day before normally we actually come to help, and we have book chains, which means that someone's like, if we need the books to come into this room, or if we need them outside, someone will be downstairs, and they'll be
basement with all the books that they want to get rid of.
Yeah, and they'll be like, I don't know, 10 or 12 people, and we'll just make like a line up until where we need them to, and then we just pass them through, and that's
box
by box, and it must be hundreds of boxes.
Yeah.
But that's something every single year we do that. Yeah, so like we get here that morning at like 8 and then we're like, you know, bring the boxes around, and then when it starts, normally, or actually, Ella and I used to have a little business here to raise money for the friends in the Monterey Library.
And here we thought it would be really fun because, what was it? We wanted to be fortune tellers. And we had this sparkly bouncy ball with like glitter inside of it. And we were like, oh, this would be a perfect crystal ball.
Yes.
So we decided that we would do a little fundraiser for the library. Where we would tell people's fortunes.
Yeah, so we dressed up, we got all these scarves, we just like wrapped them around ourselves, and then we what if we just like made up, we got little papers, we just like wrote random, like, a new friend will come into your life. I remember like a dog, like a puppy, I don't know, we were just like, I remember like we just made up really generic, but they were funny. We made funny ones.
Yeah, and then when someone would come, we would pretend to look into the crystal ball, and then we would look down at one of our little papers and decide which one.
And then just like pick one, we take turns like picking them. And then I think it was like a quarter or something.
Yeah.
It was like a quarter, like 50 cents. Oh, we also decided to do like palm reading, right?
Oh yeah.
And that was like an extra quarter, but I don't know what we did. We were probably just
like, oh,
looks like
a very long lifeline.
Yeah, we just did, you know.
We'll be happy.
So it was, you know, very
How old were you?
childish, but
How old were you?
8.
probably 8. Yeah, that was when we first started becoming best friends, and we would, we saw each other like all the time. And so I think it was just like one of those times that we just decided like we have to do this fortune telling thing.
Do you know my mother has pictures of you?
Yes, I remember seeing the pictures, and those are really funny. Yeah, I remember like all our scarves and like jewelry that we put on to make ourselves look like fortune tellers. And then that business transition, I think we might have actually done that 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it transitioned into a lemonade stand, which is now been taken over by my younger sister Nadia and our cousins. But we still normally take part. We try to help out in some way with the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
But that's always so fun too. And then we bring my cousin into it, Elizabeth, who walks around. We like make these posters, but she walks around and she's like, just like, what does she say? She like makes up songs.
Come and get your lemonade once in a lifetime.
Yeah, once in a lifetime lemonade, you know, and it's not that. Like, I mean, the lemonade isn't great, but
basically just from a mix.
Basically just from a mix or from a can. I don't know, but we try. But I think it's so funny that tradition of the lemonade stand has lasted so long. Like, I wouldn't believe how many years. Because if we did the fortune telling for like 2 years, and then the lemonade stand has been going on for 5 or 6 years, which is crazy. But that's always fun. So then, after the book sales, we normally just help with that. And then we would like go browse through some of the books, and then one funny thing that always happens is people always end up buying books and then donating them back, and then like buying them again. And so I even find myself like, I will just take random books and then I'll have to give them back, and then I'll see them the next year and be like, oh, this looks really interesting. But then I'm like, oh, I already looked at this, you know, and I didn't need it clearly. But I think that's just such a funny thing that happens to so many people who talk about that, how they end up buying it and then donating it and then buying it again.
Yeah.
And then after the book sale has ended, we're going to talk about
Oh yeah, we all have to, usually there's still like 10 million boxes, so we have to bring all the way down into the basement again.
Yeah, and that's, again, a huge process that takes a while, but it's always funny to see how many boxes less we have to carry down.
Yeah.
Usually not very many, but I remember one year there was a rainstorm, and that was sad, actually, like so many boxes just got like ruined. And so that we did have a bunch of books though, so now we have more room. But every year we always get so many more, so
yeah.
It's
Do you guys also help with the steak roast?
I do not. I don't love steak roast. Her dad is a firefighter, and so is her uncle. So they're really involved with the fire department.
Yeah.
But we haven't been so much. And I've only gone to the state roast like maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
I usually don't go.
Yeah, which is sad. But my family, yeah, is really big into the state roast because my dad's a captain on the fire department, my uncle's on the fire department, and then my brother Justin is a junior firefighter on the fire department. And every year, this is another thing, like I'm saying, this whole day is kind of crazy. So after the book sale, I end up just like walking to the fire department where they're like shucking corn or like setting up tables or something. But so the day before the book sale and state roast, it's always that I help set up tents and bring books for the book sale, and then we go over to the fire department and we set up all the tables and the chairs, and that's just like hundreds and hundreds of chairs, and that's the whole process. But I always remember that. Every year we do the same thing, you know, set up books, set up chairs, and so then after the book sale on Saturday, we walk to the fire department and then help with whatever they need help with there. And then the stage roast happens where there's like live music, and I don't know how many people go, but several hundred. And I feel like that day is just like Monterey, like just, yeah, everyone goes to these events. And then of course there's Lake Fest, which now turned into Monterey Fest. But when we were kids,
I'm not going to talk about that.
it was Lake Fest, and that day it was kind of interesting. It was a fun day. We would go to the lake, but there would often be so many people that you couldn't even like go in the water. Like there was just like you couldn't swim. So we actually sadly kind of didn't really enjoy Lake Fest that much. But you know, I did like were the boat rides, because we don't actually, well, we have a rowboat that you can turn into a motorboat, but we don't have a motorboat or anything like that. So I actually really enjoyed the boat rides on Lake Fest. That was my favorite part of that day. But, yeah.
It's fun.
And now,
It's kind of, yeah, a little bit sad to think that, like now, I would never dream of spending my whole life here. I want to travel, live somewhere else, you know, sort of not be in a small town my whole life. But it's kind of sad to think back and on all these memories of my childhood, and this town felt like so big.
yeah.
It felt like the whole world when we were little. And all those events, like we knew everybody, and it was just like such a cozy community. And now, I'm a junior in high school, so in a couple of years I'll be going off to college, and I don't know. I guess all I'm gonna have left of Monterey is just my memories here, because I don't think I'll ever come back and live here. How about you?
I definitely want to live here, so Ella will have to come visit me. That'll bring her back here. But I think it would be exciting. I can definitely picture Ella in a different environment. But I definitely want to live in Monterey. I actually, when I was a kid, I didn't like it. I mean, not that I didn't like Monterey. I had so many, fun experiences here. But I feel like we always have opposite opinion, because I always thought it was like small and I didn't like it then, but now I love it. And so Ella's almost, she liked it when she was a kid more.
Yeah.
But I love Lake Garfield, just absolutely. Like, I didn't appreciate it before, but now, there's just so many things about the town I feel like I've just missed so much. And this summer especially, I feel like I just really took time to enjoy the lake and the environment, because like every day I would just go down. This summer, whenever I had a chance, I would walk down to the dock and I would just go read there, because I don't really like the cold. So not like I like the temperatures of Lake Garfield, like I'd love to live in a warmer climate, but just the peacefulness that you can find here, I think is just amazing.
Have either of you traveled anywhere? Ella, have you traveled at all?
Ella has you can talk about your trip.
I have only ever been to the United States and Canada, so I haven't really been overseas anywhere. My grandpa lives in Miami Beach. He's a very hip grandpa. He does yoga and he plays the piano. And he's into Tai Chi. He's a vegetarian. So he's a very interesting man. And so we go to visit him sometimes. So I've been traveling a little bit, down to Florida, and I went up to Canada when I was little. But I'm really excited because I get to go overseas for the first time next summer, because I'm very into Harry Potter. And so I bought tickets to go see the new play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, in London. So that will be my first real big trip. And after that, I definitely want to study abroad, and I just would really love to go bigger places and see bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I did have a big trip.
I love had a big trip. I mean, to me, when I was like her age, when she went on this trip, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the biggest trip ever.
Yeah, we went across the country when I was 8. And we traveled, I think down to Tennessee, and then sort of Missouri, and then up and to Utah and New Mexico, Nevada, and then up through California and all the way to Washington State, and then back through South Dakota and Idaho and up into Canada a little bit before we came home. So I really got to see the rest of the country, and I really loved that experience. And I think maybe that was, what inspired me to want to travel more, because we camped every night in a tent instead of staying in any hotels. And I found that I sleep way better in a tent than I do in my own bed. My mom says that when I was little, when I was a baby, they took me camping for the first time. And that was the first time that I went to sleep just like that, with no fuss. And I just slept soundly the entire night.
Yeah, I was really into nature, and I feel like that's so, she always says how it's so much better, that's the human's natural environment is actually outside and not indoors. So I've been, but that trip really, I remember when they were on that, and they had told, because our parents were really close friends, we had their schedule almost of where they were going to be. So I think I even made a calendar, and I would track. I'd be I was in this state today, and it was the funniest. I remember thinking that, and I was just I don't think I just remember that now, but I remember having I made a calendar so I could track where they were going. But that but I think so I've been to Portugal. Yeah, and that was a big trip that I went on. I think we were there for 10 days, and we went with our family to see one of my dad's friends, and that was amazing. It was just gorgeous. We went to so many different museums, and we stayed at a palace, and that was the coolest thing. When, I don't know how, I must have been 7. Yeah, we stayed at this castle, and the best part, we were driving there, and it was late at night, and my dad's friend's family, they were telling us oh, we're just going to some cabin in the woods, and we were all freaked out. And when we get there, it's this huge castle, and it had swans and ponds and these huge gardens, and it was we ate dinner there, and it was I don't know, 7 or 9 course meal. And my brother and I would we had them play this game. That was the funniest thing, where whenever when they first came out with water and bread, Justin and I, we would drink our water so fast so that the waiter would literally just stand there and pour each of us water. And we went through so much water, I have no idea how we got through that night. And it was the funny, I think that's the funniest experience that I had at Portugal, was just literally making the waiter stand there for us. But that was the funniest thing. And then we had to eat. We tried all these different foods that I probably would never have tried, and that was really cool. But I think now, when I think about my travels, and I've been to California twice actually, once with my school and then once with my family, But coming back here, even just the other day when we went up Hunger Mountain, I realized how much, like, the beauty of Monterey, I had not, like, realized how gorgeous it was here. And we were walking through there, and I'm like, this really looks like we should be in, like, somewhere big, in some, you know, like, huge national park that's famous. But we were just in Monterey, and I think that's partly what's so special about it, is you feel like sometimes when you're in the woods here, like you should be, you know, in some bigger area that's more well known. So.
Yeah.
There we go. But any closing remarks? So.
Plans for the future?
I will let you know.
Oh yeah.
Ella has some big plans, some big dreams.
I do have some big dreams. I don't know if any of my big dreams will really happen. But my dream is to hike the Appalachian Trail, start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and go to college and study abroad and work in the Peace Corps.
Do you think you've been inspired by Monterey at all? Like the nature and hiking and like on the mountain?
I've definitely been inspired by my parents a lot because they haven't really done anything really obvious, like worked in the Peace Corps, gone and volunteered in a foreign country for a year. But one of them is a social worker at Goulds Farm still. And one of them is working in the schools as a nurse, school nurse. And they both just really inspired me to, I think just that the most important thing, you know, is to care for other people. Like, that's really cheesy, but I really look up to them, and I just want to make a difference like they are.
Yeah.
In my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know, you've really been a big support for me because you always are telling me, whenever I tell you about something that I want to do in the future, like even if it's really crazy, you'll be like, you could definitely do that.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
I can picture Ella hiking Appalachian Trail. Like that's just like my I don't know. I can picture Ella doing it. She has the determination and just I feel like sometimes people like underestimate her courage because she can be kind of quiet, but she has so many dreams and I feel like she can totally accomplish them. But yeah, I think, like I said before, I definitely want to live here. And it always seems like I'm like copying people. Like people always say that because like I want to be the library director, which my dad does. You know, I want to be on like I want to help out with like the community center, like my mom does. So people always say that, but I think it just shows how they were such good people that I really, you know, want to emulate their goodness and how they are so important to the community and how everyone in Monterey does something for the community. It's just so small, you have to. That's like at my school, that's what they tell you. Like the principal will get up and say, our school is so small, so everyone just has to, you know, everyone does something. And I feel like that's the same in Monterey. No matter, you know, what happens, any events or anything, everyone takes some part in it. Even if it's small, it's just, that's how Monterey works. And I think that's just so great. But yeah, so I think I would like to eventually become a teacher. And that's partially, I was inspired by my kindergarten teacher, and Mrs. Anderson. And I remember telling her on the last day of first grade that no matter what happened in Monterey school, I would always take care of it. And I mean, now it's not in use this year, which is really, really sad. And I don't know how I could help take care of it, but I feel like I kind of like made that promise. And I've always just, ever since kindergarten, just wanted to be a teacher, but I've also wanted to be a librarian. So I think that'd be a perfect marriage of two careers to be a school librarian, and that's always been my dream. But it's also been my dream to live here and perhaps live in my grandparents' house.
Do you want to come in? It's okay.
Caroline, it's okay.
Hi, Caroline.
No, she's feeling shy, sorry.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh.
And we'll do more of
Thank
these,
you.
but thank you.